You ever see that show? I think it's called Inside Edition. I'm not even sure it's still around, but it was in the 80s and 90s, I believe, and I watched it sometimes here and there. But they gave the inside scoop on entertainment and what was going on, the Inside Edition. Well, today I want to give you the Inside Edition on this movie that has just recently been released by Cindy Jansen, entitled Chasing the Rain. Here's a little background story, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the story itself. It's a gripping thing. So about 20 years ago, it must have been 15, 20 years ago. I've completely lost all track of time. But I knew Cindy went to Bethel. It must have been 15, 20 years ago. She went to Bethel University where I taught, and we got to be something of friends there. She struck me as a really passionate young lady. Very energetic, really witty, funny, and super sarcastic. And I just kind of liked her. Well, she graduated and I didn't hear from her for some time. But at some point, probably 3, 4, 5 years after that, so maybe 10, 11 years ago, she shows up at in the church where I pastor and would like to talk with me. And we have a chat about an idea that she's got on a script that would deal with the problem of evil. And she was really interested in the problem of evil, and I have written some things on the problem of evil, so we had a lot of discussions about the problem of evil, and she wanted to put, kind of her thoughts into a play, a script of some sort. She wanted to know what I thought about it, and I said, well, I think that's a great idea. I think we need more artistic expressions of theology, more artistic expressions of, exploring the human soul, the longings of the human soul, the incongruities that we confront in life, the mysteries of life. The church has not done, on the whole, a great job of embracing the arts, whether it's filmmaking or poetry or sculpture or whatever, but of embodying the question and then, in different ways illustrating the answers that we find in Christ. And so she went with it. And several years after that, she shows up. She's got the script. She's written the script. In fact, she says that she's somehow got shopped around, and some folks in Hollywood were interested in it and wanted to fund it. And so they wanted to make it into a movie. And then she wanted to know if I would be part of that. Her idea was she wanted to have her 4 favorite theologians, 4 favorite authors that have impacted her. And so she asked Shane Claiborne and N.T. Wright, of course, and Ephraim Smith, and me. And she wanted to have us play. She wanted us all to be homeless people, because the homeless folks play a role in this film. But because of scheduling issues, N.T. Wright couldn't be there while we were shooting for the homeless part. So he got this office job. And if you know N.T. Wright, it's just fun seeing him. It's just fun seeing him and hearing him do something other than lecture in theology. He's playing these little bit parts, and it's kind of a quirky, cool thing. But for Cindy, it was more. She didn't do it just to be quirky. She just thought it felt right to, for this movie to kind of embody something of, reflecting the influence that we've had on her. So we flew out to Kalamazoo, Ephraim, Shane, and I, and for a couple days, we're part of the shooting of that, different scenes and stuff, and it was a fun time. One thing about acting is that unless you're the star, I suppose, but even if you're the star, I suppose, most of the time you spend sitting around, and other people are doing things, but you're sitting around. And I didn't know that. I thought we're just going to shoot our little scene, but it turned out to be quite this ordeal. And I had run enough books to occupy me, whatever. So we ended up just hanging out together and talking and getting to know one another, and that was a blast. One other little quirky thing I'll share on this Inside Edition about Chasing the Rain, starring Matt Lantern, is that I went over about 6.5 months without cutting my hair. That's back when I had some hair. Actually, it was even thinning. This was shot 7 years ago, and there's a long story about why it's been 7 years in production. But I was even thinning back then, so it would make it kind of difficult, because after 6.5 months of growing my hair, it's really thick on the sides, but a little thin on the top. So I got kind of a bozo look going there. And I didn't shave for 6 months. So if you want to see me as a total scuzz, check it out at Chasing the Rain. But you gotta play the part. So this story, it's really a unique story. Chasing the Rain it combines things that usually aren't combined. at its heart, it's a story about existential anguish. It's as serious as any story could get. It's a really gritty movie. This isn't. I mean, it explores the question. It's a spiritual movie, but not spiritual in a religious kind of way. Spiritual in the sense of providing answers to people. Oh, the questions, but here's the answer, and inspiring people to have hope and stuff. There's an inspirational element in this movie for sure, but it's very subtle. On the whole, the movie camps in the question. It's a kind of spiritual movie that explores the agony of some of the unanswered questions that human beings are always wrestling with. What is their place in the universe? Does this universe make sense? We assume that things are supposed to, conform to our reason, but sometimes they don't. It's really a movie, a contemporary retelling of the story of Job, because it explores the randomness of things. Why in a world, on the one hand, it would seem like a universe that could produce beings like us who want to make sense out of things, who reason, you would think that there'd be an ultimate mind behind this that would answer some of the longings of the human heart. But then you confront, as the main character in the story confronts just random evil, makes no sense at all. Matt plays this character who's really good-hearted, wants to help humanity, is volunteering over in Africa and trying to alleviate suffering, but he just confronts the horrendous, relentless, sometimes diabolical feeling of this. There's no hope in this. There's no hope. There's nothing you can do. Humans suffer and die, and that's the last word. And he confronts this and raises the question, really the metaphor of chasing the rain is there hope? Because the village that he's working in is a village that's in the middle of this terrible drought, and children are just dying. It's just terrible. And the question is there any rain out there? Anything that answers to the longings of the human heart? How is it possible that we human beings who have got this longing for purpose and longing for meaning, and we want good to overcome evil, that we live in this universe that doesn't care at all about those things, or so it sometimes feels? And this movie just gets to the gritty of that. It's a gritty movie. Chasing the rain, and it gives us reason to hope, but it's a subtle thing. It doesn't provide easy answers. It's living in the question. In the end, Job, it's like Job in that if you read the book of Job carefully, Job he doesn't disbelieve in God. He just is really angry with him. And I know sometimes people praise the piety of Job and the patience of Job, but Job says some nasty things about God. At one point, he says, "God, you're my adversary. You toy with me like a lion toys with its prey. You created me for the purpose of delighting in my pain." I mean, he really accuses God of some sadistic things. And that comes out in this movie too. And if folks get a little offended by just how raw this show gets, well, go read the book of Job, because this film doesn't do anything that the book of Job didn't do. It gets raw. But then in the end, it asks the question, might there in the end, after all, be hope? It's a good story. It's a good story. It's got, like I said before, a little pinch of love story in it, and a good dose of Napoleon Dynamite quirky kind of humor that is really, because the show can be so heavy, it's having those light moments really kind of brings you along. So I want to congratulate Cindy on doing a great job, and her persistence on bringing this movie to pass. It has not been easy, but she stayed with it. And I encourage you, especially at a time when there's not many shows out there that you haven't already seen. The good ones you've already seen, right? And the rest is left. I mean, my wife and I were like looking for good shows. Well, here's a great show, right in time for the holiday season. And believe it or not, there's kind of a ironic fittedness that this show, at a time when we, at least in America, feel like, well, it has been the worst year we've had, I think, ever. And it's been such a gritty year, and now we're in this middle of this pandemic, and yet we're going to be celebrating the hope of the world. And this movie's perfect in raising that question: is there really hope? Or are we just chasing rain? Are we just beings that are out of sync with the universe, and that's just the curse of our miserable existence? I encourage you to check out Chasing the Rain. It's on Amazon. It will soon be on a bunch of other venues as well. I think it's 2 hours well worth spent. Check it out. It's a great movie. Take care. Congratulations, Cindy. See you later. Bye-bye.